What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and it would appear we have some sad news to report. I want to be careful about how I talk about this because I don't want to create any further hunting of people online. And I also don't want to mess things up for the family at this time. However, I think it's important to talk about the topic because it's new and it's important. We are in the middle of a video games Me Too push. And by the way, I don't plan on monetizing this video. If I do, it's only because I believe, or it is my theory, that the YouTube algorithm doesn't like videos that don't monetize. It's in my experience in the past. If I do, I will just donate the money to a prevention service. Please leave your suggestions in the comments down below. It's hard to know who's good, who's trusted to give your money to these days, since so many of these charities are just scams. But I'll figure that out later. Earlier this week, or late last week, if I remember correctly, Zoe Quinn, and by the way, do not contact her. If I feel like if the important takeaway of this, the fact that Alec Hawaka, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correct, or I'm trying to, he passed away last night after a week long of having his name dragged through the mud by every major video game personality in the legacy media, including the large websites like Polygon and Kotaku. Websites and coworkers that had absolutely no evidence. They had a work of fiction from Zoe Quinn on her Twitter profile. And here's what I know is today, Alec is no longer with us. Did he make that choice himself? Based on everything going on, I'm going to guess that it's significantly likely that that is the case. There's more information that needs to come out, obviously, but, it's not necessarily important. The main takeaway here is that the internet chase for clout, the obsession with some people to cancel others. And myself, I've contributed to this type of thing in the past. And I think it's important. I've always felt like I've been on the more balanced side of it in going out of my way to say that, look, the evidence is not all in. I sided with Chris Hardwick, even when making fun of Andy Signor. I said there was reasonable doubt there. And when I covered Alec's situation, I said the same there as well. I will always cover these situations. But if anything, this absolutely tells me I need to be even more clear than I have been now that these are just somebody's Twitter ramblings, or this is just rumor and speculation. Whether or not you like somebody doesn't lend any credibility to accusations. A family member or friend posted this: Alec, my brother and best friend, has passed away this morning. Those who know me will know that I believe survivors, and I have always done everything I can to support them, those suffering from mental illness and those with chronic illness. Alec was a victim, and he was spent a lifetime battling mood and personality disorders. I will not pretend that he was not also responsible for causing harm. But deep down, he was a person who wanted only to offer people care and kindness, and it took him a while to figure out how. Over the past few years, with therapy and medication, Alec became a new person, the same person he'd always been, but without any of the darkness. He was calm and happy, positive and loving. Obviously, change is a slow process, and it wasn't perfect, and he was working towards rehabilitation and getting a better life. In the last few days, he was supported by many Manitoba crisis services. And I want to thank everyone there for support. I want to thank Adam Saltzman for staying up late, talking with us, and reminding Alec that there was a future. My family has and always have will be the most important thing to me. Please give us time to heal. We tried our best to support him, but in the end, he felt he had lost too much. I currently do not see a place for myself in the games or on Twitter. In games or on Twitter, I will not be looking at responses to this post. I appreciate everyone who has reached out to me over the past few days. For anyone who is in a time of darkness, I encourage you to reach out with support. There are always people who will be there for you. And Alec, pretty plainly, becomes yet another person. Now, I don't know, and we don't know, if what was said about Alec was true or not. But what we do know is that the Twitter outrage mob, the combined weight of his entire industry abandoning him and choosing to believe guilt first, was too much for him to bear. Now, if he had done bad things in the past, this, of course, does not absolve him of that behavior. But just like the many, many times before, there's more times that I can count of people who have been subject to both warranted and unwarranted Twitter mobs and ended up pushing them over the edge. There was obviously this forklift driver here. There's endless people who have had false accusations that ended up self-checking out. But there are also people. Remember the film actress, the adult one, getting bullied online nonstop. I forget her name. This is, clout is addictive. Retweets are addictive. And I stand by, I'm not going to be a different person now. I stand by the fact that if you have something happen to you and your first inclination is to share it on Twitter and to email video game outlets, I lose a lot of sympathy for you. Maybe the things that Zoe Quinn said were true. Maybe they weren't. But it isn't for Twitter to decide. It isn't for game developers to decide. Essentially, I'm sure that Alec felt like he would never return from this, and he probably wouldn't, based on how vindictive and petty the video games industry is. All of this started with a tweet chain started by Zoe Quinn. A tweet chain that didn't necessarily paint Alec in the best light, but at no point, as far as I could tell, did he ever break the law. He sounds like a broken man, a man with issues. He also doesn't sound like anywhere near the man people painted him out to be. The evil genius willing to blacklist and block people from game developer conferences. And Zoe, who has a large and ravenous following, tweeted nonstop about Alec for the entire week, culminating in his termination and the cancellation of his project. I know that it's common to want a scapegoat here. I don't want that. I don't want this to become about Zoe Quinn, because that's what she wanted. This is probably, in my opinion, her dream scenario. Because people will be mad at her. People will lash out. I'm asking you not to. I'm asking you to see the situation for what it is here on my video, in our community. And if you're angry about it, talk about it in the comments. Don't make her dreams come true by giving her all sorts of reason to be in the headlines again. We're already seeing endless articles. And you can see some people are already beginning to delete their tweets. You can see on August 28th, the indie community forever ago that Alec banned me would regularly make fun of women who were too angry or suggested that an old boys club in gaming. Retweeting Leah Alexander, who has now deleted that tweet. Was it worth it? Was it worth all the retweets? Does canceling people feel that good? There are several other people who are being hunted currently in the video games industry. And again, whether or not they've done the things that are alleged is irrelevant. It is not for us to decide. And I, for one, am sickened by the way the video games industry and Hollywood treats people who, by all normal rights, should be given the benefit of the doubt. I believe most people deserve that. If you don't report things to the proper authorities, if you don't say something till 10 years later on Twitter, I'm inclined to believe that you have ulterior motives. Again, that doesn't mean the things didn't happen. But to me, the act of canceling someone is one of vindictiveness. It's one of getting even. You can either be the victim or you can be the perpetrator, but you don't get to be both. Enough with cancel culture. Enough with the Twitter court of public opinion. Alec is not the first, and he won't be the last. As desperate people take advantage of the fact that victimhood is a currency in modern day. And anytime you have a currency, you'll have people looking to counterfeit it. My thoughts do go out to Alec's family. I didn't know him. I'm not going to pretend and fake be sad about it. I'm going to take this opportunity to hopefully make a point that people need to be skeptical of these Twitter revelations and stop jumping on cancel culture, myself included. Hey, if you're still hanging out, there's a subscribe button right on the screen right now. Make sure to click that, turn notifications on. And if you want to see the next video, that should also be hovering around the screen. Thanks so much for watching this and for supporting the channel. What are you waiting for? Subscribe and, turn on notifications and like the video.